Now, the Iranian government is reportedly weighing an assassination attempt against the U.S. ambassador to South Africa, Lana Marks. A story about a U.S. intelligence report has been referenced by two officials who are familiar with the intelligence. It suggests that an attack on Ambassador Marks is one of several alleged options officials believe Iran's government is considering in retaliation for the assassination of Iranian Commander Qassem Soleimani in January. U.S. officials are said to have been aware of a general threat against the ambassador for some time, but this has become more specific in recent weeks. The report indicates that her personal friendship with President Donald Trump might have been a consideration for the Iranians in their alleged targeting of her. Now, for more on the story, let's speak to our foreign editor, Sophie Mokoena. Sophie, this is a story that's sort of it's almost difficult to understand in terms of, especially when you look at the relationship between South Africa and Iran, as well as South Africa's relationship with the United States. We have a good relationship with both of them, and to, of course, bring the country with, and I suppose, speaking about an attempted assassination on the ambassador representing America. Talk to us about this. Seems a bit complicated.
Well, you'll recall that on the 3rd of January, there was an assassination of Iranian high-profile leader who was the general of that country in Baghdad in Iraq. Now, there have been reports that Iran intends to retaliate. We saw the retaliation later where Iran did attack the military base in Iraq. But there were no reports that South Africa can also be used as a launching area for Iran to attack the U.S. But you know that South Africa has strong relations with Iran. It dates back during the presidency of Nelson Mandela, Thabo Mbeki, President Zuma then, and now President Ramaphosa. Therefore, you know that many would look at whether are the Americans or officials of the embassy or consul general in the of U.S. in South Africa safe, because when there are these tensions between countries, at times embassies and consul generals are used as targets, and therefore there are these reports. South Africa hasn't said anything, and we haven't spoken to Ambassador Marks, but there are reports from the U.S. that there is this intelligence report that points to the fact that she could have been a target. The reason being, when you look at other areas, according to the report, the embassies are fairly secured. A South Africa embassy is seen as perhaps vulnerable in terms of security arrangement. But when you look at that embassy in Pretoria, it's very, very, very secured. It's the largest. And, you know, Pretoria is a seat of many embassies on the continent, and I don't really understand how did they arrive at this. And Lana Marks in particular, yes, the argument that she is a friend to President Trump dates back when Trump was involved in businesses and her being involved in handbag businesses. Mm-hmm. But it's very difficult to really agree, or perhaps really to understand her being the real target. I mean, you have countries that have very, very weak security on the continent if you want to really attack the embassy or any official building of the United States of America. And therefore, this is going to cause a serious tension between South Africa and the U.S.
It certainly will. But just as we wrap up that conversation, I also want to just ask you a question on Zimbabwe. But in terms of that, have we had any form of communication from either Iran or the American embassy to confirm these allegations? Because at the moment, they are just allegations.
You are aware that the story broke last night because of the time zone. We were sleeping. We woke up to this story that show and filed last night. But we are doing a follow-up this morning. We are going to try and get the reaction from the embassy. Secondly, we are going to speak to South African International Relations Department and, of course, the Minister or the Ministry of Intelligence in South Africa, whether they were aware. And we will also speak to the Iranian embassy here in South Africa. We've spoken to them during that assassination. They were available. We will ensure that we give a proper balance story. And later I will cross to the United States of America at 8 o'clock in the evening to speak to Sharon Bryce and our correspondent Nick Harper in Washington to get more information, and we'll also speak to the Iranian experts.
Yeah. Finally, Sophie, while I've got you on the line, let's just look at what's happening in terms of the controversy over the ANC mission to meet ZANU-PF. What is the next step now? We obviously heard last night that the Defence Minister has submitted her report. She was given the deadline was last night on the use of an Air Force plane to take those senior ANC members to Zimbabwe last week. What happens next?
Well, of course, yesterday I spoke to the spokesperson of the Department of Defense, the minister. He told me that they have submitted the report and the minister has signed off the report. So I'm sure as we speak, the report is with the president. We are expecting the president to make perhaps an announcement or perhaps tell the country what transpired when he has read the report and perhaps clarified everything. We know that today he's busy with ANC work, meeting of the top officials of the ANC this morning, and later the NWC, that is the ANC Working Committee. And I think one of the issues on the agenda will be Zimbabwe, a report back from ANC envoys or ANC delegation that went to Zimbabwe in terms of what transpired there, because it looks like the tension has escalated with the spokesperson of ZANU-PF, Chinamasa, attacking South Africa, attacking the ANC in particular, going as far as saying that there is nothing that South Africa has done for Zimbabwe. But when you look at the economic crisis in Zimbabwe, South Africa has intervened on many occasions. I mean, dates back to Mandela, the frosty relations Madiba had with Mugabe towards the twilight of his presidency. And also former President Mbeki intervening in Zimbabwe. And now again, even President Mokoena at some point in time, President Zuma, and now President Ramaphosa. Therefore, you can't say South Africa hasn't done anything for Zimbabwe. I was in Zimbabwe, I think it was in 2018, where the president visited that country on a bilateral talks, and there were requests for loans and assistance. And I mean, the ESCOM, we are supplying Zimbabwe with a portion of electricity, even though they pay. So you cannot say Zimbabwe can survive without South Africa. Neither can you say South Africa can survive without Zimbabwe, because we have a strong trading relations, export is skewed and in favor of South Africa. We are part of the SADC. We are one community. We are one continent. We are one global village. And therefore, Chinamasa's statement was quite shocking. You also have, on the other hand, the president of that country, Emmerson Mnangagwa, saying that he is going to evoke the treaty between South Africa and Zimbabwe to bring back those who are in exile in South Africa, who are part of Mugabe's government, to face the might of the law in that country. And we know what happened in 2010, where some Zimbabwean nationals were sent back to Zimbabwe. Some of them died, and that matter is still before the Zondo Commission as we speak. And therefore, I don't know whether this is likely to happen. And also, where are we going with this tension that is now escalating? But the reality is there is a problem in Zimbabwe, but Zimbabwe is in denial, as SACP has pointed out.
All right. Sophie Mokoena, thanks very, very much for updating us on the US-Iran situation, threat against the US ambassador here in South Africa, and also the issue of the ANC mission to Zimbabwe, and the president giving that ultimatum for a report to be submitted, which it was last night by the defense minister.